Alright, good morning YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing the series on bodybuilding tips. And today I'm going to be telling you something that you may or may not want to hear, but we all need to hear at some point, and that is bodybuilding is very similar to a minimum wage job, but worse. You can only get paid for the hours you work, you can do things that will take away from how much you could potentially earn, and there are no bonuses. Something I want to get across to many of you is that you can't put in extra work and get tomorrow's pay. If I work extra hard today, I still need to show up tomorrow and put in my hours. If I dig myself into a hole in today, I'm not going to get compensated because I was supposed to work tomorrow. Same thing applies. If I'm killing myself on my leg day and it's impacting my next training session, I'm not growing from that extra bit of hard work that is only being a detriment to me. So you need to actually focus that you're making sure that the amount of work you're doing is what you can recover from, is what is appropriate for in the moment, and that if you just go down this rabbit hole of only exclusively working hard as if that is the only thing that matters, then you are shooting yourself in the foot because there are other factors that matter as well. You can definitely overdo it to your detriment. Now, there is a point where if you don't apply any type of effort, you won't get anything out of your training as well. But that's why I'm trying to say that there is a lot of ways you can lose what you can earn, but there are also things that you do that go far beyond what is even necessary. Don't shoot yourself into the foot thinking that that's what's going to put you ahead. What will put you ahead of your previous self, and if you are competing against some other people, maybe your friends, is going to be clocking in and out of the gym, making sure you are there and you are present for each one of your workouts, making sure that you never miss a day, that you maximize your consistency. That is what's going to get you to be big and strong. Generally speaking, the strongest people in the gym are the ones who trained correctly for the longest amount of time. Now, there is a counter example or a counterpoint that is often presented, and that is genetics. And one point that I do think that this analogy or this metaphor kind of works with is the example that brought up by Dave McConey from the Brains and Gains podcast. And that is, imagine that there's someone who is the son of a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Or maybe they do actually genuinely work hard. They go to all the toughest schools, they take all the toughest classes, and yet they still get straight A's. And then you have someone who maybe came up from a lower to middle class family who had to really struggle their way to get into a similar position. And what you will find is that one person had to struggle significantly less because one person did in fact have a silver spoon. They did in fact have a bit of a leg up and a bit of a bonus in front of them. And even in that scenario, however, I think that it's very important to note that compared to people with similar silver spoons, that doesn't guarantee that you are going to be a success story. I've known many people who have had much more advantages in life who only go so far because they throw it all away and don't know how to take care of it, don't know how to treasure it, don't know how to earn their own keep, and as a result they squander a lot of the things that they were entrusted to or given to as a result of inheritance or anything of that nature. A silver spoon doesn't guarantee success, and neither does hard work for that matter. Something I want to keep in mind also is that hard work doesn't guarantee success, but everyone who has ever succeeded has worked hard. Now, some people are going to say, like, well, this person was rich and they didn't have to earn it, or this person has all this and they didn't have to earn it. And something I want to challenge you on is that really your metric of success, a material thing? Because material things fade, and the people who don't have to earn it, don't have to respect it, don't have to keep it. So as a result, it tends to go away really quickly. And let's bring it back to training for a bit. If someone decides to cheat their way to a good physique, whether it be through drugs or other means, do they have the best quality of life going forward? Think of the people who inject synthol into their muscles. Think of the people who use anabolic steroids. Some of them pay the ultimate price of their health and their livelihood. This is not success. What does success truly, genuinely look like? And I promise you that it is impossible to think of what your true, genuine success would be like without also thinking up all the ways that you actually have to work hard toward it. Now, something I do want to touch back on is the statement that the biggest, strongest people are generally the ones who train correctly the longest. And doing things the right way and doing them for a long amount of time is how you get the most out of your training. And when I say that you can lose out on some of the things that you earn, that is typically where the issues kind of arise. If you are sacrificing your form, if you are sacrificing maybe your body composition, you're eating too much for your goals because you're trying to add weight to the bar. That's usually the most common way this shows up. You are working against yourself. You are working against your goals. And one thing I do want to point out here is that if it works, it's right. Too many of you keep thinking to yourself that there is only one right way to train. And there's no infinite amount of right ways to train, but there's several. And the thing is that whatever right way reveals itself to you, that's what you should keep to for as long as it continues to work. Once it stops working, you can make adjustments, you can make some changes. But generally speaking, too many of you think that there is only one right way. Now, when you find your right way, that doesn't mean that you can just pick and choose, mix and match and do all these things. Whatever it is that you are finding successful for you will have its own constraints that you need to follow if you are going to benefit from it. Now, with things like technique, right? Or things like what are truly the right things at the base of everything, that is going to be good technique that is relevant to your goals, proximity to failure, progression, and a sufficiently wide exercise variety. As long as those things are there, everything else kind of ceases to matter. So do things the right way, make sure that you're going in the right direction, because that's how you lose out on things. A lot of you have this FOMO or this anxiety when it comes to training, like, oh, if I don't do this exercise, or if I don't do this type of periodization, or if I don't do conjugate, or if I don't do this type of training program. That's not what you should be focusing on. That's not what you should be fearful of. That's not where your anxieties should be. Your anxieties should be, am I actually doing this exercise in a way that is beneficial to me? Or am I actually getting something out of my training? There are a lot of ways that we can fool ourselves into thinking that that is the case when it's really not. So really dial down on that. The last thing I want to point out is that what I mean by there are no bonuses. So when I say that there are no bonuses, it really does boil down to the fact that you don't get extra points for following a certain method. Like, no one really cares what you do as long as what you're doing is working. If you are doing a style of training that is incredibly crazy to the average person, but it's building the physique that you want, you have the strength that you want, you're healthy, you're safe, and all of these things, go at it. And people should recognize that that should be what they hold themselves to also. Too many people are trying to have a program that has the stamp of approval of the people that they follow. And that's not what you're going for. It's not the approval of the YouTubers you watch that matters with your program. It's, does your program actually give you the results that you want? And if it does, that's what you want. There's no added benefit to saying, oh, I follow this guy's method and I get good results, or I follow this guy's method and I get good results. None of those things matter at all. You don't get extra brownie points just because you follow the methodology of someone else. Trying to appeal to the authority of someone else does nothing when you can't even, with your own physique, with your own strength, show that what you are doing is actually working. This is something that I feel too many of us nowadays in this world of influencers and YouTube channels and all of these things. And, maybe it's a little bit ironic given that I have a channel and it's, slightly bigger than, no, it's incredibly average. Let's say that, right? So trying to have that stamp of approval does nothing for you or your program. If it's not working for you, just because it comes from the person you really like their work, it's okay. You can move on. You can disagree. You can find something that is worth working for you and be comfortable with that. And trying to tear down other people just because their methods look different from yours is just as incredibly stupid. So that's it for today's bodybuilding tip. I hope it was useful in all of that rambling. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.